as you say, there was a lot of Dutch guys came in, and you had Jack de Geer and Michel Duisberg,
yeah,
Rob Mackay, and there was quite a few contingents. So how did they come in and settle in the dressing room? You said that Mark was a character, but how did the rest of them settle?
As I say, Marco was fine, and what Marco does is Marco sort of, it was like, oh yeah, the Dutchies, pick on the Dutchies, but Doozy had been at Motherwell, Robbie Mackay had been at Motherwell before they'd come here, so they sort of had adjusted to the Scottish game. Big Marina Steikhausen come over for a spell. Jack, you know, and for whatever reason Jack was over and then back, he didn't settle. Jack was a good character. Jack, I'm not saying the other ones weren't. Doozy was a great lad, Robbie Mackay was. We used to play Jimmy Nichols' skill challenge that Jimmy C loved, was on a Friday morning. It'd be the sort of the Scottish boys against the foreign boys. Half volleys over the crossbar, and you know, he used to play first to 6 games, headers off the bar, and there was that sort of like wee divide but made it competitive. But as I say, Doozy and Rob Mackay in terms of the dressing room, no different for the other ones. Took it, they would dish out the stick. Jack was a wee bit more streetwise. Jack knew what it was all about, but he was a great guy, Jack. Sometimes I think he'd pushed boundaries with social life with Jimmy over the years as well. But he had a relationship with Jimmy Calderwood that Jimmy knew when to toe him in line. I think it was a shame that Dunfermline fans maybe didn't get to see as much of Jack as they could have. But again, that's football. Sometimes people can come over and settle. He had a young family over at the time and decided that he wanted to go back to Holland, but I think they only got flashes of Jack because he could score wonder goals. He was strong for as much as he was quite wee. He was a strong player that brought ours into the game. But no, fond memories of the Dutch boys that Jimmy brought in.
And obviously at the time, Craig Brewster came in, and then the partnership between you and Craig Brewster, obviously improved Dunfermline as well with the amount of goals that you scored. What was it like playing with Craig? Because you obviously linked well together.
It's a question that's always asked because my goal ratio got better when Craig came in. I can't speak for Craig, but I know that Craig coming in wasn't just down to Craig and my goal scoring getting better. Jimmy had gradually built that team, made us better and better all the time. And I'd watched Craig and Gordon Dale when I was a kid at Wraith Rovers, and Daz, who's got a phenomenal record in the league below in the championship, I watched him playing with Craig. We signed him for Forfar for part-time. Jimmy took a chance on him. Even then, you know, Craig got on his left foot and he had a knack of, he could pass it in the net from 30 yards. Daz would make wee movements, go one way to duck under the centre half the other. Craig would play a wee reverse pass into him, Daz through and go 1v1. So he definitely, when Craig had the ball, he knew that if you made runs, he would see you. Whether you got the ball or not was different, but when you're playing alongside somebody like that, you know it's only a matter of time that you're going to get chances through it. Again, I'm not speaking of anybody else. I had that feeling when I played with Coyley when I first come over, and I know it was the league below. Coyley had a knack, when you had the ball, if you made a run, I knew Coyley had seen me. Some of the other ones that I played with up front, it wasn't their strength to bring ours into the game that way, and probably the first couple of years at Dunfermline I was more of a provider rather than being able to make runs on the shoulder, even though I was probably quick. And it worked with Brew because there was times when I knew that if he was dropping off and you had quality like Barry Nicholson playing the ball into him, or Fergie or Nipper, Scotty Wilson there finding him, I knew it was a matter of, like, do I peel away between the left centre half and the left back, or do I peel between, or you know, do I come short to then running behind? As I say, I knew good chance that he would find me. But equally, if you look at Craig's record when he come I think he scored more goals playing with Dunfermline in the top league than he did with any other club. So it wasn't just, I hate it when we get labelled with Stevie and Brew partnership. Made it, when that wasn't the case. The other players allowed me and Craig to score goals. Yes, Craig was great to play alongside, and there was a bond and there was a partnership and we were on the same wavelength, but that was just icing on the cake to playing and working with a good manager, a good assistant, and playing with good players. You know, I could have been playing up front with Craig and other teams and we wouldn't have scored half the goals. So it wasn't Stevie, Crawford and Craig Brewster. It was, you know, it was playing with right good players at the time, and we were fortunate to play with a lot of good players at Dunfermline.
You reached the cup final, 2004. The Clyde game was abandoned.
Yeah.
You remember playing that one in the snow?
In the snow.
And the run was quite good because you had Partick Thistle, which would be, and then you played Inverness Cally in that run up. Had to go to a replay, and then of course there was a famous one up at, and we played the replay at Aberdeen with Barry Nick's goal.
Yeah.
What was it like then in that run up with the Scottish, in that run with the Scottish Cup, and then getting to the final?
I think there was frustrations in the team that under Jimmy that we never really could, for the quality we had in it, we never gave the fans, and we never for ourselves managed to get to a semi-final or get to a final as often as we possibly could have. Down at Ayr, you know, we get beat 3-0. I think Gus is unfortunate to score an own goal early on in that game. And there's another character that I've not even mentioned through the interview, that Gus McPherson, who's now went on to do well in management. You know, that's the type of player we signed, an experienced guy that had qualities. He drove the team in that as well. But you know, Ayr United, that was a sore one because we were terrible. We were terrible that day. We went down and it wasn't being overconfident. A chance of going through to quarter final of a cup competition, and we go down and we come back with our tail between the legs. But again, Calder would let us know after the game. An opportunity was missed that day, not because you have any divine right to go down and beat Ayr United in a cup tie, but we never competed with them that day. And that one always sticks in my memory. St Johnstone, I think we went up in the League Cup, 3-0 down after something. We scored 2 goals late on, but another opportunity to progress in a cup competition. We had Celtic when we drew 2-2 here, and then losing the replay, and then there was, I think, Rangers, we were close a couple of occasions, and you can live with that because they did have budgets that we couldn't cope with, and they had players that were better players than us. It's not to say that you accepted getting beat off them, but they were better, and we pushed them on the days. But the run to the 2004 Cup final, that was the season that we finished 4th. Roosters come playing with us that year, and we're thinking this might be our year. The semi-final itself against Inverness, I don't think it was the greatest of games, to be fair. And I think the occasion, not that people were overwrought with it was more, this is our opportunity to get in. I think the Inverness players probably felt the same. I think up at Pittodrie the game was a better spectacle for the supporters, but what you also had was wee Barry Nicholson scoring that goal gave you the opportunity or the platform to go in and play in the cup final. And if there's ever a goal that was worthy of getting you to a final, was that. It was different class, and on many occasions I've seen the wee man do that on the training ground. Maybe not beating as many as he did, but he definitely had the composure after the end of the run to slot it away like he did.
And then getting to the cup final itself, it was a fabulous occasion because we had never been in a cup final for so long, and it was, to lose it the way we did, I think for every fan that was there was totally disappointing. And so how was it like for the players?
It was hard because we had competed. We had competed. You're winning 1-0 at half time, whether we were fortunate to be 1-0 up. On another day, you could argue that Celtic, would be unhappy at the challenge that allows Andre to score. But I always remember the goal when it's our corner. Baldy throws his arm in there, and it definitely hits. And that's no, you know, I've looked back many a time at it, but the thing from it is it falls at Alan Thompson, who's got it in his locker. He hooks one on, and Larsson uses his experience and takes a chance and shoulder barges Aaron LeBon. Young Aaron, it's nothing. I'm not putting any blame on Aaron. He was a great young kid who, probably through Nipper being injured, got the opportunity to play. But you know, Larsson then goes shoulder to shoulder and then shows why he was the top player in Scotland at the time, the way that he went and buried that chance. But it's one of the moments you look back on and think, well, every year we'd progressed, we'd got better, we'd got to the cup final, and it still lies with me that we just didn't perform well enough on the day. You know, we had done for an hour, we were in the game and that, but their quality maybe came through. But being a little bit critical of ourselves, and I know that I didn't perform to the levels that I could on the day itself, that you know, you look back at when Dunfermline won Cup in the 60s, that might have been a time to have come back with the trophy that day.
And you left. We lost Jimmy Calderwood as well at the end of that season as well.
Yeah.
So what made you leave at the end of that season?
I'm glad you've asked, because with being a local boy, sometimes I get in the neck a wee bit and I hear stories of my family here, different bits and pieces, and it can be at times quite hard to take. Listen, I don't bother about criticism and things like that. You've got to be big enough and ugly enough to take it, and I'm certainly that. But everybody knew the club had went into money worries, and at the time I was probably one of the bigger earners. But what people tend to forget is that I was enjoying my football at the time. The club come to me a year or so earlier and offered me an extension to my contract, and I was delighted to. I wanted to be here, I was enjoying my football, I didn't want to go and play anywhere else. I'd broken into the international team, and I knew through talking to my agents that there was clubs sniffing about. Now I could have seen my contract out and moved on, but I didn't want to. I wanted to show that I was happy, and the club had been great with me, and I wanted to give them something back. But unfortunately, you go into the money problems. Every player was affected in different ways, but that was up to the way the club wanted to. But I can remember speaking to Jim Leishman, and basically the conversation was along the lines of, I know you still got a year of your contract left, but it being the club's best interest that you find yourself a club. We can't stand in your way, but it'll help the club out. And you know, I took it on board. The club's always bigger than an individual player anyway. Whether that's he thinks he's too good to play in the team and the manager leaves you out or whatever. And decided, I spoke with family at the time, that I wanted to give England another shot. And the wee bit that sort of eats away at me is that people think that I downed tools at Dunfermline and went to Plymouth and looked for a better contract, and you know, nothing further for the case, because I went and signed a contract for less money, albeit I got a 4-year deal. The reason I wanted a 4-year is because I'd played all my career in Scotland. I wasn't looking for the best deal for. I wanted to go down and go with my mindset, do you know what, I've loved my time with Dunfermline now, I want to go down. I don't just want to go down and sign a 2-year deal and then come up the road after 6 months, which eventually happened anyway. Typical football. But no, as I say, I loved my spell at Dunfermline, that second spell. The first time as an S form right through until the day that I got told I wasn't going to get off the contract. I come back and everything was positive. Unfortunately then the club went into troubles financially. I took it on myself after speaking to Jim. It's time for me to move on, and the club's going to have to go in another direction at the moment, but it's for the good. You know, and I know that everybody that's been at the clubs from that spell has worked behind the scenes tirelessly. People like yourself that don't get credit for it. There's many a person at the club that when I come back that you realise what it means to them, and it's great now to see that after all the years of, you know, working on shoestring budgets, that the club fighting in League One, where the expectations for a club like Dunfermline probably was to win promotion, but they never. But you had people like Potts, Jeffries coming to the club. Alright, they never won promotion back, and then Potts gets a wee spell at the job and gives it his best shot. Still working with the 20s and now. Son, a guy at the club that it means something to. Mo Hutton still kicking about, and now Alan coming in, he done it at Queen's and he wins promotion to the Championship. At worst, that's where I see Dunfermline they're a Championship club at worst. Should be playing in the top league in my opinion. Again, that's only my own personal view, but the club's come a long way in a short space of time, and I just hope that people realise that what Alan's doing at the moment, and Sandy and Potts, because they're in good hands. I know behind the scenes Billy and Ross, how they're getting on. The club just don't try and overachieve at the moment. The supporters' expectations that they think it's only a matter of time before we get in the top league. We're to consolidate this year with the chance of playoffs or whatever. If that comes, great. As long as they consolidate this year, and then for the next year, I think Dunfermline as a club, with what it means to the people of this town, will go on and go on in a positive way, and they'll gradually get their way back up into the top league.
Can I ask you about your third time here at Dunfermline? Because when you came back, obviously, after Jimmy Calder left, then there was, I suppose, disappointment in a way, and it was a bit acrimonious, and the fans didn't like it. We had David Hayes manager, and then Leishman took over, and it was Jim Leishman that signed you back from Aberdeen then.
Yeah.
But then he was only here briefly, and then Stephen Kenny came in. Now at that time, and you could probably say that Dunfermline were on the slide because of circumstances that happened a few seasons before. So what was it like when you came back then? Because you would have played with a different group of guys.
Yeah. I think there's no comparison with the team that I played with. On paper, the team that I come back to were a right good side. But there's something not right. There's something not right there that every manager that finds himself at a club, it's the bit that's difficult to do, to try and get the team playing as a team. Come back down to sign with Big Jim, who'd signed me all the years previous as an ace for him at 13-year-old. I just couldn't settle, didn't settle at Plymouth. Went to Dundee United, knew within weeks that it wasn't the right move because there had been troubles in the air that summer. Then moved back to Aberdeen and played for a year under Jimmy C. Started enjoying my football again, but the reality was I'd turned down Aberdeen 3 times in my career, and the fans weren't having me. And I wasn't at an age, it wasn't like I was 19, 20-year-old that thought, right, let's just dig in there. I knew it was right. It was a sort of pressure that if Jimmy was playing me and the results weren't going right, then, you know, Stevie's one of the ones that's letting us down. So I thought, do you know what? I'd heard Dunfermline were sniffing about. I wanted to come back. First and foremost, I wanted to come back. Then you come back down, Jim gets moved on, Stephen Kenny comes in. Stephen was a young manager that come in that tried to implicate new methods to the club. Whether they worked or not, I think showed in the end. Again, the thing is, I'm not trying. I've been lucky enough. I've worked for managers. I've worked for managers over my career, and I can remember having a conversation with Stephen. I had many a conversation with managers behind in the room. A lot of them not very good ones, where I walked out thinking, alright, I've been told what to do. But I can remember we're playing, there's that 3 games when we're in the first division, and Hamilton, Livingston and Stirling Albion. But we've been beat 3-0, 4-0, 5-0 for teams that we should be beating. Never mind losing like that. Basically the conversation was, but I'm the manager, I'll pick the team. And I totally respect that. Totally respect that you're a manager of the club, and I can't tell you as an individual that I want to play wherever. But how I did leave that conversation was that I think I personally would give you more playing up front. But I'm not telling you you've got to play me. We had good forwards at the time. We had Brock McManus in, Matt Burchill, we had Jim Hamilton. So you had options up front. I'm left. I say to him, I say, look, I'll go and play in the 20s or reserves, whatever it is. If you don't think I'm playing well enough up front, I'm not scoring any goals, I'll do that. But you're asking me to play in a position that I know that I'm weak in the team, with the captain's armband on, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't take that. Now that was only my personal experience with Stephen. I know he was the manager. I know he's got decisions to make. Managers have got to be brave. To spoke about Calderwood's decision to go 2-4-4 at Tynecastle when you get beat 7-1. But I felt it was my responsibility. It wasn't. I'm at an age where I know that I'm weak in the team, and I'm wearing the captain's armband. It felt like I was letting not just the manager down. I was letting down supporters, and and that feeling of wanting to come back to help the club, because I knew they were struggling away at the bottom of the table the previous season. It was starting to go. I didn't have a grip. Not that I was controlling things, but that feeling of what come. I felt I was equally the reason why we were going under at the time. Now I know there was issues off the parkway in terms of the club financially again. That was always sort of in the background. But as I say, it was the conversation I had, and I think in the end that season we'd been training at Dalgety Bay, and I always had, during pre-seasons I would get bothered with my lower back at times, so I knew how to manage it. Sometimes it would be like a case of going on the bike or getting softer ground and going and doing a bit of running. To be fair, it was only facility at the time because the pitches were bad, that were going down to Dalgety Bay, but I was starting to get a feeling I'm playing about 80%. It was showing in my performances. Now supporters don't get the luxury of knowing these things, and I'm thinking, I'm playing, I can't twist and turn the way I want to do because I'm getting restricted with that. And we got a decent cup run that year under Stephen. And as I say, I'm talking to my dad, and who I always spoke about over my career. Dad, I'm going to embarrass myself. I'm going to let the team down. We're going to Hampden. We're playing against Hibs, semi-final. I rolled myself out on the Monday. I went up to Stephen and chapped his door on the Monday morning and said, look, I'm not saying that I'm playing at the weekend. I says, but I'm not fit enough to play. He says, but yeah. I says, Gaffer, I'm playing at about 80% and we're not winning games, and how can I play? I should be playing nearer 100% to at least be giving you something. He says, I've told you about my back at training. And basically to rule yourself out on a Monday when you've got till the following weekend was against what I was all about. If I had a wee calf strain or something like that, and the manager's like, just give yourself, take 2 or 3 days, work with a physio, we'll try it, do a fit. But to rule myself out on the Monday, I knew that I'm not saying cheating supporters, but because again the decision wasn't mine, it was the manager of the club. It was just frustrating. It was frustrating, and I'm not decrying them because you're paid as a manager to make decisions, and you live and die with them. But personally, did I play to anything where I could? No. Was I playing a position that was bringing the best to Dunfermline? I wasn't. How he was with other players, then you're never privy to that. But on looking back on it now, it's great. I pay attention. He's playing in Champions League through the week there and winning with Dundalk, so probably Stephen as a manager learned from situations. But I think there is something, I don't want to speak for our players, that sometimes they get tarnished with the senior ones in the dressing room when they haven't Stephen Kenny, and that's something that maybe people want to cling on to. If that was happening, the senior players wouldn't have allowed. There's no way players went out into that pitch with Dunfermline. If they're playing with an injury, obviously you can only play, or you're playing with a slight knock, then you can only play to what that allows you to do. But there wasn't players chucked in the white towel at the time to see they wanted Stephen to move on, because that's disrespectful to people who pay their money to come and support the club, disrespectful to the manager, disrespectful to anybody that's on the board, and it certainly wasn't happening. Not that I was aware anyway.
Obviously when he was there, you got to the cup final in 2007, and again it was another defeat by Celtic. So that was a disappointment again. And then it came about that because of the losses that you mentioned, things weren't looking too good for the manager, as it normally doesn't in those circumstances.
Yeah.
And they appointed Jim McIntyre from within.
Yeah.
So what was that like with Jim coming in, having played with him? It would be difficult for him as a manager with playing with, managing players that he'd played with.
It might have been difficult for Jim in terms of it didn't show, and right away you could tell he was meant for management. He got the respect of us, he brought a togetherness. Listen, this I'm speaking. Jim ended up not offering me a contract. I was desperate to stay. Jim waited to the last week of the season to tell me before the Queen of the South game, and I, in a way, never got a chance to say my goodbyes to Dunfermline fans the way I would hope to have done it, and thank them for everything. Just be at least getting to go around the pitch and applaud, because basically he told me I wasn't getting offered a new contract, and I was like, well, what's the point in playing, because I could go and break my leg tomorrow. You're not offering me a contract, and I still want to play football. I still felt I had something to give. So I'm not talking through great admiration for Jim in that way. He made a decision that he didn't want me at club at the time, and I'm fine with that, because it showed that he had the bottle to make difficult decisions, where he could have went, do you know what, I'll give Stevie a year. It keeps him sweet, it keeps him on side. But he was brave enough, he made a decision that he didn't think was right for his management. But when he come in, the one thing that Marker, when I had a short spell with him at Dundee United as a player, was he was big on his fitness. He knew the game. He was good in the dressing room, he was a character. He knew the fine line between having a laugh again and when you worked. And it was work. And he got the club going in the direction again. And when I moved on to East Fife after it, because we said a few words back and forward to each other when he said he wasn't going to offer me a deal, I got minded coming back to East Fife and playing the reserve game, and I went in and seen him, and I chapped his door and apologised, because maybe the manner that I said something, but Maka was big enough to take it on the chest. He knew it, showed that it meant something to me. I know he said that in the past, that the reason that I got upset was because I still felt that I could give something to Dunfermline the following season, but he made a decision that he felt it wasn't right for Dunfermline, and we shook hands and we speak every time we come up against each other since then. But I kept an eye for Maka, because my initial feeling right away was he knows where he wants to take the club, whether he gets the opportunity to do it or the results, but he didn't look fazed by jumping from working with the players, to the extent that from the outside I think, and I know decisions are made, that it was a wee bit harshly dealt with, in terms, he stopped to rot. In my eyes, he'd stopped to rot in the Championship. He built on it, won promotion, and then probably through being loyal to most of his squad, they struggle a wee bit without being given a proper budget maybe to bring in quality to add to the boys that won in promotion, and then unfortunately lose his job. Again, that's decisions that directors and chairmen make, and it's something Mark has moved on, and he ended up at Queen of the South, and now he's doing really well at Ross County. As I say, I think Marker he's got to take a lot of positives from his spell at Dunfermline, and a lot of credit for that he actually got Dunfermline going in the right direction again.
Looking back on your career here, you scored 82 goals. Is there any that stand out?
I enjoyed them all. I know you'll hear, I did enjoy them all. I probably wasn't selfish enough as a striker that goals meant everything to me. That was right through from my youth days, when I got as much pleasure if I seen somebody to the side of me and I thought he had more chance of scoring, he was getting it. And maybe it's criticised because you look back, I was lucky enough to play senior football for 20 years. if I take penalties for every team, I never had fair penalty, but if I take penalties for every year, if goals meant that much to me, alright, you're maybe going to miss 2 or 3 over a season. There's a good chance you're going to score 5 or 6 over 20 years. There's another 100 goals if you look at it that way. But I was never one that was, I want to take the ball off. Wee Barry Nick liked taking penalties, so when he was here, Brew liked taking, Nipper liked taking penalties. I was never one that was, nah, it's my ball, I'm wanting that because it's going to add to my tally. So I was never, it was more about the team getting results. And I know that sounds something you think, is he saying that for his, I genuinely, like my family would tell you that if we'd been beat 2-1 and I've scored, I think we went through to Parkhead. It was the time we wore the grey silver strip, and somebody played one down and I've smashed one in with my left foot, and I taken a lot of pleasure because I'd been working on my left foot at that time, right in the top corner. It's probably one of as good a goal as I scored for the club. I think we got beat 5-1 or something, or 4-1 that day. I genuinely, the goal didn't mean nothing to me. Alright, it's one of the goals in that figure that you've just said, but I'd rather have scored a tap in that comes away with maybe been working our backsides off up at Tannadice and we've scraped a 1-1 and I've scored for 2 yards rather than score one foot outside the box. St Johnstone in the League Cup, we're getting beat 3-0 and the ball falls to me and I was out and I hit the thing and dip him over. It didn't mean nothing. It was a nice feeling to score the goal, but it didn't mean nothing because we got beat on that day. Probably me as a character, if you're talking about goals that meant something, now you've put me on the spot, it was St Mirren. The second time we went through, and me and Jason had played football we were 14-year-old, and Lynn had just given birth to their second at the time, and we done the stupid Bebeto. I managed to cut inside and I scored one decent, and we won on the day as well, so that's one that stands out. Other than that, let's say Ella, it's credit to the rest of the boys for giving me the opportunity to score that many goals.
Well, Stevie, you obviously have a great affection for the club.
Yep.
It's shown, and there's loads more we could have spoken about, and it's over your career and your international career, and there's loads that we could have spoken about longer. All I can say is thank you for speaking to us as part of the Heritage Trust, and look forward to seeing you here again.
No problem, it's been a pleasure, and as I say, the club does mean a lot to me. Being a Dunfermline boy, you know, I always keep an eye out for the results as well, but any player that I ever played with, anybody that ever come across at the club, they've been nothing but great with me, and if there's anything in the future that I can give back, I'll always be at the end of the phone there, willing to help.